All right. Mitchum K and I are continuing our conversation here about Golf Clash and starting off through the levels, and you can catch this on the YouTube channel. But going through this, giving a little bit of my history when we talk about the rookie stuff. And just so you know, there is an elephant in the room that we haven't talked about. We talked about the time period. So when you talk about time, when I first started playing this game, I can tell you I played COK, Clash of Kings, and I quit playing Clash of Kings 848 days ago. So 1,222 1,221,120 minutes ago is when I quit playing COK. I quit on midnight, June 1st. I opened up my P6 castle. I had a level 30 P6 castle with about 1 million troops and opened it up and had one of my teammates attack me, put 500,000 of my troops in the hospital, kill the other 500,000, and walked away from the game after about 5 or 6 years of playing it. And let me tell you, let me give you the elephant that's in the room. The elephant that's in the room is that when you first start a game, everybody's high-fiving and everybody's all good to go. But what happens very shortly into it, and Clash of Kings is a prime example, any of those castle building games, is that it gets very quickly, if you want to go up the levels and you want to compete with the Joneses, where when you have higher level stuff, you're literally spending, sit down, I'll wait till you sit down. You are literally spending $200 to $400 a month. It's $200 a month just to maintain your stuff, just to maintain it. Yeah, that's why I asked you to sit down, just to maintain your stuff. And you can spend, 400 if some bad stuff happens, or if you're doing a major build, you can easily spend 400 a month. So you can kind of average it out and figure that in the course of any given year, you're going to spend at a minimum 3,600. But there's guys in the game that you're competing against that are spending 36,000. Yes, $36,000 a year, and it's just impossible to keep up with the Joneses. It's like digging a hole, and this in COK is a China-based game. It's just like digging a hole to China and just dumping money into it, a constant stream of money. So when I first started playing Golf Clash, um, for the first, I started playing, the game had been out. I started playing it literally June 1st, 2017. So the game had been out for a couple months. And you spend a little bit of cash, you buy some balls. And back in the day when the game first came out, they didn't have ball packages. I mean, I'll show you one of the first balls, other than they had some berserker deals. One of the first balls that they came out with was this Labor Day ball. And you could buy this ball. It was a 3 wind, one side spin, 3 power. I mean, it's not even it's not it the deal is you get 3 wins, so it's a little better than a Titan as far as the win, but you get a little less side spin than the Titan, and you get two less side spin than a Kingmaker. And this was a ball that you had to buy. Now they've come out with a lot of different balls in the collection, so just depending on what it is that you're looking for. But if you're buying the 499 pack, if you're in the lower levels and you're just trying to have a little collection of balls, and you buy a 499 pack, you get just enough to play 2 holes. So that's why it's super critical when you're buying these balls that you have really good ball management. It cracks me up when I see people go out there and they bought a pack and then they're blowing them in one-on-one. Save these balls for tournaments. But as you go up the scale, and it used to be when Golf Clash first came out that you could pretty much play all the way through Tour 7 and you really didn't have to pull out anything more than a Marlin. There was some holes that you'd pop out a cap, because the Glen Monarch estate holes, which are Greenock Point holes, which are my absolute favorite holes. Those holes have those are the holes that really teach you curl, and they teach you a lot of stuff like that. Those holes you might pop out a Quasar, you might pop out a Katana, and if you were in tournaments, you could pop out a Kingmaker, but really only in tournaments did you pop out that good stuff. Typically on one-on-one, you didn't really have to go past a 1 power ball. But they've changed it around, and if you look at how the tours are set up now, They've changed it around because what they found is that up to about Tour 7, people were able to pretty much get through anything with just a Marlin, a Navigator, or a Quasar. And so they've changed it enough, and there's enough players now. This game is one of the most popular games out there, that you'll get on some of these holes and you're just destined to lose if you're not willing to pull out a bigger ball. Because there's some of these holes that you're going to get on, and then your opponent's going to pull out a tightener. They're going to pull out that kingmaker. They're going to pull out that ball where they can make that shot. And if you don't end up in that same area, you're not going to be able to. You're going to have a longer eagle chip in, and they're going to be on the green. And so when the game first came out, when you started getting into Tour 8 and Tour 9, you had to. One time, this game originally had a forum, a real forum, which was really cool, but it kept getting hacked by these Japanese services doing porn stuff for college stuff. And we had a guy named Windwalker who is a crazy deal. He's still wearing his tin hat. I think he had a whole collection of tin hats. But we talk about, like, what do you spend your gems on? And I remember commenting on one of them is there anything else you can spend gems on other than Titans? Because you really had to keep up with, on these holes, you had to have a collection of Titans. And so you didn't have to necessarily have these special balls, but the way that it's set up now with the 4 and the 5 power balls, it's a little bit different story. So you can't just worry about your top, these 7 balls that you can get in the store. And I have a pretty good collection of Titans here, so I can go out and play with Titans for quite a while. I don't play with Kingmakers that often, so I have a whole bunch of balls down here that are Kingmaker lookalikes, and I don't have any problem with, I've got four of the major packs. So whenever I do need a Kingmaker, I've got a collection of them. And the katanas I get, because I think the best deal in the game is the 199 pack, because I always practice on Monday. So on Monday, if I'm a little short or in my lower level account, I'll buy that katana pack because the katanas work out really good. But now the way it's set up is that if you start playing in these upper divisions and you're up into Tour 9, Tour 10, Tour 11, Tour 12, and you get on a hole and your opponent pulls out some 5 power ball and hits the optimal shot, and you're not willing to pull out a 5 power ball, you're going to lose. And so you're up here in Tour 10, you just lost 3 million. You're in Tour 11, you just lost 10 million. You're up here in Tour 12, you just lost 30 million coins. And you can't, that's not how it works. If you want to be one of the big boys up here in Tour 12, then you better pull out a snow globe, or you better pull out a berserker. And so what happens is that you will find that the higher you get up into this game, the more you're going to have to spend. You're not going to be able to come into the ball section and buy a $4.99 pack. You're going to have to go into the store when they offer those specials, and you're going to have to buy that $49 pack, or you're going to have to buy that $100 pack. And they offer those 4 times in a month, twice during tournament week. So 4 times in a month, they offer those packs. And if you're playing a lot at the higher levels, you're going to be smoking through those balls, especially the power balls. So every time one of those packs comes out, you're going to be throwing down $50 to $100. So what happens is that I'm right back into COK. And while I really love the game, and I think there's a ton of people that really love the game, they get to a certain point and they're like, hey, $20 a month, $30 a month, and I use the Google opinion reward, so I get $10 a month in free stuff. So I get $10 worth, $8 to $10 worth of stuff free every month. So really, if I spent 30, I'm only spending around 20. But when you start talking about buying $100 packs, you're not going to be able to make that up. So you can find yourself very easily if you're wanting to work your way up the scale. The elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about is the balls, because balls are super critical, especially if you've got a really good set of clubs and your opponent has a really good set of clubs. What can separate you is which ball you pull out. And you're going to see a lot of people go up through the scales and they're like, man, I just don't want to, I don't want to spend that kind of money. I love playing the game. And I think that's why there's so many people that play pro and rookie, that are in those pro expert pro masters brackets and that are in that rookie expert rookie master bracket, because what they found is that they love to play the game and they know how to play the game, but they're not interested in having to spend $200 to $400 a month to play it. So they can play down in pro and they can play in rookie, and they can spend 10 to 20 bucks a month and still have a great time playing the game and have really, really good competition. And that's the whole thing about it. I see a lot on the YouTube channel and on Facebook where, people are talking about, why are you playing there, or why aren't you playing here? And there is some pressure in the community that, like, well, if you have these clubs or you're at this point, then you need to go up. So what you're telling me is that I need to go up to a point where I need to start spending that $20 or $50 a month. And then I'm going to have to move up from there, because eventually I'm going to get to a point where you're going to say, hey, I have to move up, and now I have to spend $50 to $100 a month, and now I have to spend $100 to $200 a month just to keep up with the Joneses. And there's a lot of people that are going to want to not spend that money, but they still want to play. And it's great for Playdemic. What everybody doesn't understand is that this is great for Playdemic. Having a base of, 300,000 or 400,000 people who are playing in rookie expert rookie masters or pro expert pro masters that are spending $20 a month, $10 a month. You take 500,000 times 15, if we did the average, that's some cheddar. And so having that base, they're not the big hitters. It's the same thing in COK. We call them big hitters or whales. And those guys are going to go in there. I had a teammate in COK who dropped 3K in one day. And you know what they were doing, because if you were on a team, kind of like the clans, every time somebody in your clan bought a $100 pack, or if they bought a $5 pack, you got a gift, and you could tell that they bought a $5 pack. If they bought a $20 pack, you got a gift. If they bought a $50 pack, if they bought a $100 pack, and we got 30 $100 pack gifts in one day. So people will drop some cheddar. Now, one of the things I like about this game is that they haven't blown it up where they're constantly every day, like you see in a lot of games, having some special on here where you can buy some different deal. And so they've kind of kept that stuff under control, so they haven't broke the game and really gotten super greedy about it. But the people that are going up there at the top, if you're working towards the top, you can't deny the fact that if you're working towards going up to Tour 12, and let me get back in there, Tour 12, when you start 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, when you start going up this scale, you better be willing to pull out some cheddar, because you're talking about some serious change up here. And bankroll management is super critical, and you can't afford, when you're up here, to lose 30 million just because you weren't willing to pull out a ball. Now, you're going to find some people that are out there, and you may get into a situation where they pulled out a Marlin and you pull out a Marlin and you're just out there playing. But a lot of these guys that are up there, they're going, they're trying to be max trophy players, and they're going to do whatever it takes to try and be max trophy players. And they're not afraid to pull out the big ball. And some people are just, they get to a point where they're like, hey, the game's getting too expensive, but I still want to play. So being able to come down here and play in rookie expert, rookie masters, pro expert, pro masters, and stay out of that $200 to $400 a month thing is critical. So that's the other point. If you did it on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say about 50 to 60% of why I stay on rookie is just because of time, and then the other 40 to 50% is, you get to a certain point and it's like, hey, I don't want to go back to see, okay, I've already been there. I've already been on that game where you're spending, $3,000 or $4,000 a year just to play that game to maintain. And the whole deal is that you're looking for competition, and I can guarantee you're going to get good competition at any level that you play, especially if you're playing honestly. So like my account is an expert account, and I'm playing against experts, and so I'm playing against people with the same stuff, and the competition is awesome. It's one of those sandbaggers, and the sandbaggers here, and I don't think that tournament's gone, so I can't show you, but my 99 account, there was a guy that was in that account, and you can go back and watch the City of Light tournaments for the low-level clubs. In my 99 account in the weekend round, there was the guy who won, Lobo Fett, from the Dark Side clan. They had, you could tell by how much money he'd won, like what tour he was playing. So he was playing Tour 7 and Tour up with as many games as he had. He'd probably gone up like Tour 8, possibly a few Tour 9s, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood. And you're going to get your clubs higher real quick when you're playing up there, even with that few amount of games that he had. But when you're going against people that are just sitting down there with Tour 4 clubs and below, you can smoke them because they just don't have the ball guide and the accuracy in order to keep up with it. And it's ball guide is what it really is. So you can sandbag by playing every other week. You can take your account and you can play it, and you can play up to Tour 7 or Tour 8 and then take a week off and let it get relegated, and then play really hard to Tour 7 and 8 and then don't play for a week and let it get relegated. And you can do that. It's on the off tournament weeks. So you play in the tournament and you don't get enough to get promoted, and then the next week you can play hard, get your cash flow up, you go up one level, and then you get demoted. And so that's how those guys are sandbagging. Those guys are true sandbaggers, and that's okay. I have no problem with that either. My low level account, I shot 12, minus 12, minus 24, minus 24. Actually, I shot the 24 in the weekend round and came in 6th. And with the clubs that I had, that's as good as I could have done. There was opportunities there to pick up a shot, but there's no way I can keep up with a minus 30 with the clubs that I had. But if you go down, those guys are true sandbaggers. But even there, I'm not upset about it, because I can work my account up to the point where I have good enough clubs, and then I can smoke those guys just because I have the experience level. So the other part that we haven't talked about yet is that elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room is the cash flow, and it's a legitimate concern for players. So one of the things, if you're a player and you're watching this, you can still have fun in this game by working yourself up into that Tour 7, Tour 8, Tour 9, get your clubs developed, and then pick where you want to play. Maybe you like playing from the pro tees. Maybe you like playing from the rookie tees. Maybe you like playing an occasional expert tournament. But when you start playing expert and masters and you really want to go up that scale, you had better be prepared for a change in monetary involvement in this game. All right. Thanks for watching.